Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I would like to welcome you into my space, my sacred space. Um, Today, we are going to talk about um, old paradigm, old shifts. Here, just recently, um, if you're one of those type of people who like to sleep up over grids, using methods of channeling energy or while you sleep. Um, that's what this is about. If you, um, I was going to say if you have any earbuds, AirPods, but unfortunately, I don't have my singing bowl out and I haven't done that in a while. But this is, I want to say, first off, thank you all for subscribing and watching and tuning into my channel. Um, uh, Wherever you are in the world, you know, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, this night. I hope that you're having a great night. Um, Life goes on, life moves on. It's constantly moving energy. So there was something that I recognized. Um, there was like the last week, 3 nights in a row, it was hard for me to go to sleep. And I could not figure out what it was and why this was happening, why I couldn't sleep. And I'm just thinking and thinking and thinking, what am I doing? What's going on? What's keeping me up? And once I, used a mechanism of communication, um, that's for jargon, but once I used this method of communication, um, it was an old paradigm shift, it's like when you first start out in the spiritual community, you just first start learning about different crystals, different stones, different methods of how to sleep. Excuse me. Come on, man. Not that. So different methods and how you sleep. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I just realized I had these earphones on, and I didn't want it to be interfering with the microphone. So um, it's like when you're first starting out, you're just learning about different grids, different things that you do, and it's like once one door closes, another door opens. So it's the same thing as in a chapter. Once you open one chapter and then you close that chapter, you can't go back to that chapter. Well, you actually can go back to that chapter, but I'm talking about chapter in life. I'm talking about chapter as in going through your journey. Um, you cannot you cannot go backwards. You have to continue moving forwards. So some old paradigm shifts, they worked in the past, and that was just for at that time and moment. But as you move forward, and if you try to go back to that old paradigm shift, it tends to change to something it doesn't work for you anymore, so to speak. So you have to change um, to something new. You have to basically extend yourself out to find out something new what works for you. I just learned that here just recently that some old paradigm shifts don't work. Just like before I went to Satan's Kingdom, I had the Ankh. I had the Ankh pendant. I had the Ankh organite. I had some other tools that I was using. Um, some of the tools I was using, you know, they work for that specific time and that specific at that specific time they work. But after that time is over, you can't revert back to using those same tools because those tools will no longer match your frequency is basically what I'm saying. So um, so that means that when I had the Ankh, I actually grew out of it. This is where I started, but I actually grew out of wearing the Ankh. I actually grew out of this Organite Ankh that I had. It wasn't an amulet that I was wearing, but it was definitely something I had up over my door, and but all of these things, the door has been shut on it, and it's no longer open. It's no longer adjusted to your frequency. Your frequency has increased, or it has um, moved on, so to speak, because energy is always constantly moving. So here recently, um, I don't really sleep in a bed. Um, I do have a hammock like bed, but I don't even sleep in that because it's kind of uncomfortable. Not only that, because my room is loaded down with stuff that's preferably is not mine. But anyway, I sleep in a grid. I sleep in a grid, and there was some nights that I could not sleep, and I was trying different methods. But the thing is, I was trying an old method. And this is what I mean by old paradigms. This is what I mean by old shifts. I mean, things that you used to do, they no longer work. Well, this method that I tried, um, so far as sleeping, in a triangle, or basically putting all different stones down that are the chakra colors, up under you, or, having a crystal grid that's up under you, or uh, the old paradigm shift for me was a triangle. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why, what was going on. But for 3 days, and I don't know if it was coronal mass ejections, but when I used this method of using communication to find out what was going on, well, it was very, very simple. And if you find yourself not being able to sleep and you are going by an old paradigm shift, they call it feng shui when you reset things, you move things around, and you sleep certain directions, or your head is facing, your head is where the sun rises, and your feet is where the sun lands, where you sleep, because that's how I sleep, with my head where the sun rises. So using this old paradigm shift, and I'm thinking it's the whole time. I'm thinking maybe it's the crystals, maybe it's just too much energy, and not once did I think that because I was sleeping in a triangle that it was an old paradigm shift, that because I had no problems going to sleep with the grid I had with the grid I have now. I have no problems going to sleep. Um, so I just found out that the triangle the triangle grid, I can no longer use that. So I was up for 3 days. Like it took me several hours to go to sleep. I lay there with my eyes closed and I can't go to sleep. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out why, what is going on. Um, and I'm thinking at this point, I'm thinking it's all the crystals that I have. Maybe it's a combination of crystals that I have, put beside me or, over my head or something. What is it? What is it? What is it? I'm trying to figure it out. And it was just so simple as in the old method of how I was sleeping, the old paradigm shift of how I was sleeping was not that way anymore. It had my frequency level has changed. So that old paradigm shift didn't work anymore. It's the same like as if you sleep in the center of a Merkaba, you know what I'm saying? And you you no longer sleep in a Merkaba, it's something you used to sleep in, but then you try to go back to that, revert back to the old way of how you used to be or how you started out or how you go back to what you know. um, or you start back from the basics, so to speak, or you some people say keep it simple, stupid. So, but I didn't realize that the simplest way of the way that my grid is set up was an old paradigm. I just learned that, that was like the beginning stages. That was like I outgrew it. So if you find yourself not trying to figure out why you can't sleep, or if you just started doing a grade, or that's even with food, if you can't figure out why this is going on, why it's happening, why my stomach hurting, why I have gas, or why this, why that. Look at what you just put into your diet, and look at what you just started drinking or taking. Even when it comes to nutrition, you know, if you, like my friend, I told her, she, oh, what the dosage says such and such, or that's just how much it says I have to take. No, you don't. You start out with one pill and then you move to the two pills. You let your body gradually grow into it. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically, and here goes the water. But uh, you gradually grow into it. You don't just, it's not something you just jump into and boom, you're supposed to do that. That's with anything, with food, anything you do, you have to take baby steps. You know what I'm saying? So, um, and I'm not very sensitive to crystals or energy and stuff like that, but there are some crystals that really, really resonate with me, and I can hold them in my hand, and these crystals will just start moving around in my hands. They'll just start moving around. I had one, crawl up from the center of my palm, going up to in between the middle finger and the third finger. It went right in between it. It'll crawl from the center, going up to the front, up to the front of my fingers, in between them. So, um, but again, those crystals that I was using, which was black tektite, um, they no longer resonate with me. They no longer, you know, it's just the same as, like I had just got this, and I was wearing it for a little while on the channel, and for some reason, it's like you outgrow them. You outgrow the things that you use, the things that you do. You outgrow it. Your energy increases. You know, because energy never stops moving. It's always moving constantly. So this Libyan glass, I just got it. I wore it for a little while, and all of a sudden I started having really, really, really bad nightmares. I mean, real bad. Mm. And it would also happen with Lemurian quartz as well. You know, the not Lemurian. I'm sorry, Atlantean quartz. I would have really, really bad nightmares. But Lemurian, no nightmares. But Atlantean quartz, definitely bad nightmares, wars, and stuff like that. But this desert class, I just got it, and I can't even sleep with it because such horrific dreams is just really, really bad. So I don't know if it was a bad stone that I picked or what it is. I really don't know. But my moldavite, I don't really wear that anymore because of at some point moldavite worked for me. At some point, moldavite was making things move at a fast pace. Um, and especially if you have a relationship, moldavite, if you got a relationship, it's going to destroy your relationship. Just to put that out there. But Libyan glass, it was my first time having Libyan glass, and I wanted to see what it was all about. I've seen Libyan glass before, and some people, I've even seen it where it looked like plastic, and people are, and it didn't feel like glass to me. It didn't feel like a stone to me. It felt like plastic. And I knew it wasn't a real Libyan desert glass. So finally, I got a hold of a piece of real Libyan desert glass. And then that happened with these nightmares and these horrific dreams. Um, and just to note, some people can. Um, well, I know my dreams. They basically what happens in the dream world is not the dream world. It's a real physical world. So what happens in the physical world happens in this 3D physical realm, or shall I say the matrix realm, right here. Um, it just depends on how strong you are as far as um, being a manifester or um, I guess it just depends on your Templar, your genetic code, or your junk DNA, that is what they call it. Um, but the old paradigm, I just didn't know that that's what was making me not sleep, and now I put it back to the way I had it, my grid, the way I had it at the beginning, and now I'm able to sleep. But I didn't know the old way of having it, and it's because I was listening to other people. I was listening to other people when they were talking about, pyramid, quartz crystal, remembering, and other entities don't want you to remember things and this and that. And you have a crystal grid, and you put a crystal up by your head, blah blah blah, whatever, you know. What is it? Light spectrum, rainbow light spectrum, something of that nature. But when I tried that, I couldn't go to sleep. I could not go to sleep, and a part of that grid was pillars of salt. Uh, um, three pillars of salt in a triangle grid, and I went back to that old method. But the thing is I didn't have salt at that time. I was using regular stones, regular crystals, and but yeah, it just doesn't work. So anytime you are reverting back to the past and whatever you slept over and you cannot sleep, and that's your problem. If you see that your sleep is being disturbed, or you can't fall asleep like you normally do, and you're wondering why, what's happening, and why am I restless, why am I cannot sleep, why my mind won't shut down, That's probably the problem. You either in an old paradigm shift, what you used to do, an old grid that you used to do, or um, you just need to probably give the crystals a break, or basically remove the crystals from away from your head, because that's where your body can get restless and sleep and get heavy and start, feel like it's falling asleep. But you know, that weird feeling you get when your body starts to fall asleep, but you can't fall asleep, um, and it's an uncomfortable feeling. You start beating on your legs or beating on your arms or something like that to try to, wake them up. Yeah. So I'm guessing you guys understand what I'm trying to say. I hope I'm making sense, but I just wanted to come on and give that little bit of information because it may help someone that's not struggling to sleep and not knowing why they cannot sleep because they're under an old paradigm shift. They're under an old way of being under a grid. And I experienced that here recently, last couple days. Um, just the last 2 days, I've been able to get some sleep. So, but the 3 days before, it was rough. You know, almost going to sleep and it's almost daylight. 2 hours, 3 hours to daylight. So, um, but anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching, subscribing, new subscribers, old subscribers. Thank you. Um, Pass the message on. It may help someone. I will say, be good to each other, love each other like you love yourself. Learn to forgive, let live, and let go. This is the Messiah.